What decisions go into selecting which pivot to use as a gig line to the center of the front apron, and if it pleats to the set, what about the planning for the back of the kilt as well?
Yeah.
And he brings out some scenarios of this tartan versus this titan where you have like stored hunting where you have two potential lines, and then how does it also translate to stuff that's asymmetrical?
I was literally just about to say that.
Yeah.
The which line, Mac? How do you make the decision which line you put center apron? Is it let's say Royal Stuart? Do you do the red blank kind of pivot or a wide field of red pivot, or do you do the white stripe, the dominant?
I always like the white stripe. I always like to have a dead center point, something going down that front apron.
So the dominant one dead center.
But notably, both are fair game.
Yes. And there's times where the way the mill may have cut the cloth, it leads us to one versus the other, because I don't want to waste 5 inches or 10 inches of cloth. If I move it over to this other one, I use up more cloth, and it's more beneficial to make sure I have the amount of pleats in and then getting the front apron a particular way.
Yeah.
Right.
And for some tartans, I'm thinking McNeil of Barra as an example, both pivots are pretty dominant. You've got a yellow stripe on one and a white on the other. I probably lean towards the white, but it's 55-45, not 80-20 like it might be for Stuart Royal.
Yeah. The biggest, the thing I don't quite lose sleep over, but it's close for someone who's very, very nitpicky. Are asymmetrical tartans. Specifically, forget Stuart hunting, Buchanan.
That was the other one he brought up.
Oh, good God! Because Buchanan has a red section with a white stripe, and it has a bold yellow section next to it, and then there's a dark green. So
it's right over your shoulder too.
Yeah, that's McMillan.
Oh,
over here?
No, this side.
Oh, it's behind my head.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Now you can see it. Okay. Buchanan is one that I have a Buchanan weathered kilt, and I pleated it to the gray section between the yellow and the red. I don't think I would do it again were I to travel back in time. I don't love how it came out, and I'm always feeling like it's either an inch this way or an inch that way.
But is there anything that would have made you feel better? Would you have had this dilemma regardless of what you did?
I probably would have had the dilemma. No, I would have had a slightly different dilemma. It would have been I probably would have picked the white stripe in the red, and then said, okay, boom, that's center. But then I would have looked at it and went but that yellow to the left of it or to the right of it, depending on which side of the bolt.
In that specific case, I either like between the red and the yellow, or I like the green section, because then if you've got the green section down the middle, then you've got the block of red and yellow on either side, red and yellow on either side, and that it kind of, you're doing what feels the most symmetrical. It's not symmetrical, but you're trying to find what feels that way.
Yeah, Mac.
But I'll say then I'll also then give you this example. We've seen this with Mackenzie kilts, where Mackenzie's pleated a lot of times pleated to the white stripe, where they'll center a white stripe on the front apron, even though it can be centered on that red stripe.
No. We have a kilt in the store.
Yes, I know.
I won't say who made it, but we have a kilt in the store that I got a twitch in my eye every time I walk past it. It is a military kilt pleated to the white stripe in the back in Mackenzie. But Mackenzie is like Blackwatch. It's what's called an ABAC tartan, where A repeats and the B and the C are the things that are different. In the Mackenzie tartan, the A is the white stripe. So there's a B, which is the pivot, and there's a C, which is the pivot. So a red stripe in one and a blank or a navy section in the other.
So it does naturally create a little bit of a dilemma.
Correct. So the problem that I have is you're taking a symmetrical tartan that is Mackenzie, and you're making it asymmetrical on the front apron, where the center should be one of the pivots. It should either be the red stripe or the navy section, not the white stripe. And someone made it the white stripe. It drives me crazy. I'll save explicatives for later.
And that's not the only one. I've seen more that are like that too. So that's.
What are you going to anger me with now, Mac?
No, thank you to all of that.
So when we're looking at kind of leaning back towards the question, when we're looking at a piece of cloth on the table, and you're judging how is that center line picked? Is it? I know how I do it, which is the same way you do it. You know, you're looking. Let's say equal distance for either way. Which do you choose over the other?
I'm going to give you a bit of nuance to it. Okay, so if a tartan, let's say it's a 10-inch set. Okay, so 10 inches or 9 inches, something reasonably big, and you have a smaller person, and if you pick a dominant pivot white stripe as the center of the apron, if that white stripe will not occur again on the apron,
That's a good point.
then I would go with the other pivot, so that way 10 inches apart you have two white stripes running down essentially the front of the legs, and the center is like the blank section, versus what I have on here, which is the white stripe here, because it occurs two other times on the front apron. If the white stripes were out here beyond the edges of the apron, then I would do the blank section or the gray section dead center, and I would actually do the white stripes here that go down the front of my hams.
So it's something
That's a fair
like
point.
Aberdeen,
Quads.
where you have much larger set. I think that definitely comes into play there. You try to at least maximize
Yes.
the amount of colors that you're seeing. If
Aberdeen
it's-
is such a mess, though, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it is. I'm not arguing with you on that.
Exactly what I was going to say, but a large set like
Yes.
Aberdeen, yes, with that 14 or 17 inches.
Or you've
Yeah.
got
Crazy.
more of an empty space as the other pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed.
So then figuring out your back.
Figuring out the back, frankly, doesn't matter as long as it's some people will say, I want it to be the exact same as the front apron. Fine. Typically, what I've found, and see if you think the same thing. What I found is it tends to be like a little bit like the deeper pleat is too deep if you do that one, so I tend to go the other. I don't
Depends
know.
on the size of the person, though.
Yeah.
I'll say from what I'm seeing over in production on a typical basis is on an 8-yarder it doesn't necessarily really matter. We do some occasionally get either the deep pleat can sometimes be bigger, sometimes can be a little bit smaller, and we're finagling with that a little bit. But on an 8-yarder we're fine there. But and we can get them to match. On a 5-yarder it's almost opposite. Whatever we pleat as the center of the front apron,
It's almost going to be
it's
the
with
opposite
the
pivot.
the opposite end pivot on the other side.
Right. So then would you actually go and worry about the splice first to maximize the cloth that you're using and get the splice as minimal wastage as possible? Pick the pivot that's closest to the splice, and then
Yes.
work backwards to figure out which stripe you're going to center on the front apron.
Start with that,
Yeah.
and then see if you have a problem with the depth of your
Reverse
reverse
pleat,
deep
yeah.
pleat, and
Yeah.
then adjust if you need to.
Yeah, because then you can finagle that front
Yeah.
apron a little bit either way.
I do want to pause here and speak directly to a specific segment of our audience, and that is the overthinkers. This is not something worth overthinking, because while I usually try to set it up so the back is the same as the front if I can, and that's my starting assumption, and then adjust if need be. I'd rather, though, not mess with the depth of the deep pleat. Having a massively too big deep pleat or a way too shallow deep pleat is a more annoying problem than not having it be the same on the front and the back.
Spoken like a man who has to answer the phone and talk to customers who are complaining about something.
Where we do actually run into trouble with this, though, is when it's for a pipe band. And they have explicitly stated they want all the kilts to match.
Yeah.
So for Bobby, who's got a 54-inch waist, and it worked out fine, but you've got Stevie, who's got a 34-inch waist, and just the whole math, sometimes you just got to get stuck with either a too deep or a too shallow.
Or you
deep
lose
pleat.
the pleat in the kilt, to get the back where it needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's yes, pipe bands are really where it matters, and that's we actually have computer folders of picture of the front, picture of the back of the kilt,
They've
so we
got
know
those
exactly
on
what they're doing.
computers now.
We look at bagpipe bands, Facebook pages or social media to see if we can see pictures of the back of the kilts to try to match it up. And the problem is a lot of times either they have not specified or other kilt makers have done it kind of either way, and then you're stuck with
Or
what
a
do we
band
want
that's
to do?
gone through a cycle of different kilt makers.
That's fair as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I 100% agree. Don't overthink it. It's still the same tartan. It's still the front apron. It's still a sporran still covers a third the front apron. You're still fine. It's all good. Just enjoy the kilt you have. Don't think it's lesser or more because there's a stripe centered or the stripes are further apart or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stripe in the center of the back isn't really that critical.
No. There's an even easier way to do this. You buy 2 kilts. It's fine. You get one pleated one way, the other pleated. Actually, buy 4. One front apron, dead stripe center, and then the other one there, then the back. You're fine. And then actually a 5th kilt to have one pleated to the stripe.
This is the Tom Morgan approach.
You'll have plenty and plenty of options.
Yes.
And my child's college account. Thank you.
Alternative answer is trust your kilt maker.
Yes. Thanks for watching that, guys. Let me know how you feel about asymmetrical tartans. Do you hate them as much as I do? Or do you like them because they're different and asymmetrical? Let me know that in the comments. And also, let me know, do you like us talking about kilt construction? Or would you rather hear more comments and more videos on us talking about how to wear the kilt? Let me know down in the comments.